Alright, this is 2-4 notes. It's domain and range of continuous data. So domain again is a set of all x values. Range is a set of all y values. Continuous function, it's a function graphed with a line or smooth curve. So unlike discrete was little dots, little points. For a continuous function, it is like if you put your pencil on the line, it can keep going without having to jump or skip, then it is continuous. Okay, so today we are going to find domain and range of a couple of examples. All right, so this is probably the most challenging section out of all four of them, but it's not super hard. Okay, so you just got to think a little bit about this. All right, first thing I'm going to write down over here to help me remember all this stuff, I'm going to write like an order pair x, y. And I'm going to write down this thing called ID the doctor. Independent, dependent, domain, and range. That's what it stands for. Independent, dependent, domain, and range. What I'm really focusing on is domain as my x's and range as my y's. Okay, now here though, these are continuous. So we don't just write out numbers because these arrows indicate they go on forever. So unless you want to write numbers all the way to infinity, which there's not enough paper in this world to be able to do that, you have to write it in a certain format. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start here with domain. So domain. Okay, first I'm going to do my fancy little bracket like we do with inequalities. I'm going to put my x in my bar, and then let's go ahead and look at my x values. Okay, so for this one, my domain, actually we're not even going to do this piece, so sorry if you already wrote that down. My domain here for my x's, okay, so I'm looking on the x-axis right here, and see if this arrow goes on forever, that arrow goes on forever. I'm touching every single x value here. Every single x value you can think of has a point on this graph. So my domain, it's all real numbers. And the way that we actually write this, because remember math teachers don't like to write, you do two little lines like this and make an R with the outside line. That's your all real numbers. Now my range, okay, my range is just my y value. So when I do my range, when I go horizontally and look at my range, the only value that I have here on range horizontally is at 3. So my range would just be y equals 3. And that's it. Okay, let's look at a couple more of these. So again, I only write down ID doctor one time. If you need to write down multiple times to help you remember, domain is x, range is y, independence x, dependence y, you're more than welcome to. Okay, so first I'm going to look at my domain. So my domain, those are my x values. Now here's the thing. You see how this has an arrow? That means it keeps going and going and going. See how this has an arrow? It keeps going and going and going. So what that means is when I look at my vertical lines, I have a point here at -4. I'll have a point here at -5. I'll have a point here at -6. I'll have a point here at -7. I'll have a point up there at -8. Okay, same over here. I have a point at 2. I'll have a point at 3. I'll have a point at 4. I'll have a point at 5. I'll have a point at 6. Okay, it will keep touching that line. That will go on and on forever. So again, domain is all real numbers. Now my range. My range is my set of y values. And this is when you draw your little horizontal lines. Okay, scan horizontally. I have nothing down here. 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 Hold up, I got something right here, and the value of my y right there is 0. Now, I'm going to erase all this stuff I did down here, okay? So here I am starting at 0, and notice, when I go up, I have points here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I keep going, I will have points all the way up this graph. So my range, my y values are all greater than 0. So all I have to write is y is greater than, now look, do I actually have, and I'll erase this so you can look better, do I actually have solid points right here on the x-axis where y equals 0? Yes, I do. So this can be equal to 0. So y is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, number 3, domain. Okay, those are my x values. So again, when you have an arrow pointing off this way and an arrow pointing off this way, every x value you can imagine is on this graph. So domain again will be all real numbers. Okay, my range here, you look at your y-axis. Where am I starting? See, I'm not starting here, I'm not starting here, not starting here, so I can erase all that. Where I am starting is right here, and that is at -3. So I'm starting at -3, and my graph is going up with arrows, meaning I go on forever. for all the y values that are greater than 3, I will have somewhere on this graph. Because I have a solid line right there, I know that y is going to be greater than or equal to 3. Also, what this means, if I had an equation and I put it in y equals, and I looked at my table, all my y values will be 3 or greater. All right, number 4. Okay, so number 4, domain. So domain, again, I have arrows here, so that means my x goes on forever. That'll be all real numbers. Range, look at where you're starting. I start right here at -5, and all my values are greater than -5. So y is going to be greater than or equal to -5. Okay, this one's a little bit different. Domain. So when I look here on the x-axis, okay, x-axis, I start right here at 0, keeps going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we keep going 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so my domain are all my x values that are greater than or equal to 0. My range is a little bit different. My range is going to be all my numbers, because I keep going all the way down to negative infinity, keep going all the way up to positive infinity. So my range here would be all real numbers. Another way you could do this, speaking of infinity, all real numbers is the exact same thing as this. So if you see it written that way, and I'll write both, it means the exact same thing. Every number that you can think of between negative infinity and positive infinity. All right, last one, it looks like here. Domain. So again, looking at my x-axis, keeps going to the left, keeps going to the right, all real numbers, which again could be negative infinity, less than x, less than infinity. Oops, and I'm already getting ahead of myself. Range. Arrow keeps going down, down, down. Arrow keeps going up, up, up. All real numbers. Again, negative infinity, less than y, less than infinity. Okay, so we got 3 word problems. Which of the following best describes the relation shown in the graph? Okay, so first we're going to do domain. So domain, I always go from left to right. So domain here, I stopped at 0. So domain 0, check. Domain -1, wrong, C's out. Domain 0, check. Domain -1, wrong, out. And I stop over here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6, yep, that's right. 6, yep, that's right. Okay, my range is the exact same thing between A and B, so I'm not worried about that. So all I need to know is this a function or is this not a function? Okay, everywhere I draw my line on here, I only touch this graph one time. It never touches twice. It only touches one time, so this would be a function. So B is wrong, A is the correct answer. What is the range of the graph? What is the range of the function graph below? So range, I start look at my y-axis. So here I'm starting right at 0. And all of my numbers are are less than 0. Okay, it is equal to 0 because it touches it, so it'll be y is less than or equal to 0. Not all real numbers because I'm not touching the positives. Not all positive real numbers because my y values are negative. And I have nothing to do with x because x is domain. Alright, last one, and then we'll be done. What is the domain and range for the following function, x equals -5? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is x equals -5. That's my graph, x equals -5. Here's my y-axis, here's my x-axis. Okay, and it wants to know the domain and range. So domain are my x values. Well, my domain here, the only x value that I'm ever going to touch is right here at x equals -5. My range is going all the way down and all the way up, so that would be all real numbers. Or negative infinity, less than y, less than positive infinity. And that is it for domain and range.